Hi guys, my name is Mazen. So today we will learn about what is the Linux operating system, which Linux operating systems are there, what is the operating system, what is the Linux history, who created the Linux. So all over this topic we will learn. Okay, so let's start. First at all, what is the operating system? Operating system is nothing but communicator between the user and hardware. Okay, so in that diagram, centralized operating system is there. Okay, so printer is interacted with the operating system, mouse interacted with the operating system, keyboard interacted with operating system, hard drive interacted with operating system, applications and software and all projects are interacted with the operating system, and also monitoring is also interacted with the operating system. Okay, so in that operating system it's only work just like communicator between the user and hardware. Okay, so in that operating system, multiple operating systems are there in the current time. Okay, but there are two most operating system used in the real time. First is the Windows have Windows 11, Windows 10, Windows 7, so which is created by the Microsoft. Okay, so next one is a Mac OS. Mac OS is also operating system which is created by the Apple. So it's only for the Apple user. Okay, Linux. Most trending and most usable security purpose, most important operating system is there, just like a Linux operating system, which is created by Linus Torvalds. So in that Linux using for the multiple work, for example servers and customization, all those and multiple uses are there. Okay, so this is the actual what is operating system. Okay, what is Linux? So basically Linux a free and open source operating system. So in that Linux, community driven is there, so developed and maintained by the global community. So if for the Linux, no license cost requirement there. If you have to use Linux operating system, you don't need a license and any subscription, and you don't need to pay for use Linux operating system. So in that the second point, secure and multiple user capability is there. Okay, so high security is there, built-in permission, SE Linux, and frequent updates is there. So frequently updates are coming for the Linux operating system. Multi-user support, so multiple users can use the Linux operating system as a server. So ideally servers and DevOps power 90% of cloud infrastructure and data. So in that current time, all our projects and multiple and huge organizations are using Linux operating system as a cloud infrastructure for the server purpose and save the all database. Okay, so all database are hosted in the Linux, most of the in that case. So essential for the developers and testers. Okay, so Linux is also essential for the developers and testers. Okay, so it's used for the log monitoring, access, analyze application server log, CPU utilization, how CPU utilization work, and how much storage available, and also we can troubleshoot while using log monitoring in that Linux operating system. Okay, so development and debugging used to set up a managed app infrastructure. Okay, so beyond the admins, developer testers relay Linux for the real-time app monitoring. Okay, so developer testers are multiple users are using the Linux operating system. Okay, so that is the actual what is Linux. Okay, okay. So Linux of history. Okay. So in that Linux, he is the genius who created the Linux. Okay, so name is the Linus Torvalds. So in that 1991, a student Linus Torvalds developed this Linux operating system. Okay, so Linus Torvalds identified some changes in Unix OS, and he suggests some changes for the Unix OS, but Unix OS team rejected Linus Torvalds' suggestion. Okay, so Linus Torvalds used the Munich Munich OS to the develop Linux. So it's a combination name of the Linux and Munich. So that's called the Linux operating system. Okay. The first two letter from the name and last three letter of the Munich OS. Okay. So Linux. So Linus Torvald released the Linux OS with secure code into market. So anybody can modify the Linux operating system. That's why it's called the open source operating system. Okay. So anyone can change in that the operating system, and it's a totally open source code which had give to the uh, give to the current market Linus Torvald. Okay. So Linus Torvald as a Linux as a Linux operating system in that open source. So many people's companies take the Linux operating system, modify the according to their requirement, release into the market different name taste, and it's called as a Linux distribution. Okay, so in that Linux, multiple flavors are available. So we will look after the next slide. Okay, so that's the actual history of the Linux. Okay. So this is the flavors of the Linux operating system. Okay. So Red Hat is there, Ubuntu is there, CentOS, Fedora, OpenSUSE, Kali Linux, Debian, Amazon Linux. These are flavor of the Linux. Okay. So these company are created the personal Linux operating system depending on his requirement. Okay. So that's it. Okay. So this is the most important thing, Linux environment setup. So we can set up Linux machine in a multiple way. There are multiple ways are there to install and use the Linux operating system. First is we can install Linux operating system directly in computer. So just like we are installing and set up Windows operating system as it is, we can install Linux operating system directly in that computer. Okay. So basically I am also using a Linux operating system. Okay. So this is the Linux operating system. Command line interface there. Okay. So okay, play. Suppose we have to update our operating system. Just do the sudo su command, then do apt that it's updating properly. It's the latest update. Okay, it's showing working. Okay, and also I'm using Ubuntu 25.04 operating system version. Okay, it's the latest operating system of Ubuntu. So this is operating system, Ubuntu operating system interface. Okay, understand? Okay, so we can set up Linux OS in a Windows machine using a virtual box. So it's a virtual box is nothing but we can say uh, it's a software. So in that virtual box we can install in that virtual box multiple operating system which we want. Suppose we want Ubuntu, CentOS, Linux OS, and Kali Linux. We can just download the operating system iOS file from the official website. Then we can install directly in that the virtual box. Okay. So next one is there we can set up Linux virtual machine cloud platform like AWS and Azure. So actually, I had created the one video in that AWS cloud to how to create EC2 instance and connect with our local machine. So check out that video. Okay. Okay. So first note, in this note we will see how to set up Linux VM in the cloud. So I had already uploaded my video. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. So this is actual uses of the Linux operating system, and also why we are using Linux operating system, how to interact it with the hardware, which flavors are available in that Linux. Total all over basics Linux history we have learned already. Okay. So thank you so much for connecting with me the last minute. So thank you.